Okay. So now we are live, and I think I have called to our specialization head, Dr. Guneshwar Rao sir, and head of the department also, P. Ratish Kumar sir. They both have given the permission to move on. They are busy with some other meetings, so we will proceed with the audience, and as well as some of few join audience have joined in. So others join in at the time. So I think we can start. And Sumit, are you ready?
Yes, I am
Ye-
ready.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Good
So yes. So good afternoon. So now you proceed. Sumit, you proceed now.
Okay.
I'll hand over the session to you.
Okay. A very good afternoon to our guest speaker, Mr. Rashid Hussain, sir, all the respected faculties of our institute, and all the audience who have taken interest in today's lecture. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest speaker today, Mr. Rashid Hussain, sir. Hussain, sir, has worked
Thank
as a senior management professional training consultant in contracts management specialization. He has been associated with international national companies such as Armaco, Totser in Saudi Arabia, ExxonMobil in UAE, and Tata Chemicals in Mumbai in the past. At present, he is director of 3C, Corporate Consulting Contracting. Mr. Hussain has inked his 30 years of contract management experience in four number of books. And today, sir will be talking about life cycle phases of contracts in construction technology and management. Once again, I welcome our guest speaker on behalf of our institute. And now I would like to request Mr. Hussain sir to please take over the session.
good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Shashi ma'am. Good afternoon, principal sir, all the senior faculties, professors, my dear students, colleagues, friends from my industries and also from other industries. I welcome you all for the small gathering to learn something which I have learned through my experiences. I would like to share with you all because these experiences I have gained in India and overseas, especially in Middle East with Aramco and NOC, Mobil and other. So I think it is time bound. Not I have been active on LinkedIn. Everybody knows it. But then it is a good opportunity that NIT Warangal on behalf of Shashi ma'am and Sumit and other students have taken this initiative and approached me. And I really like that very much. It is like a home for me because my children also studied from NIT. So it's a sentimental feeling. Now I would like to start with it. So as we said, today's subject is life cycle phases.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. There is one request from a guest that audience that you have to go for slideshow, sir. The font size is like the written script is not visible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now okay.
Can you zoom in a bit, sir?
Yeah, I zoomed it. I brought it to the maximum. See,
Yeah.
it's to the maximum now. Um,
Okay.
You
Okay,
can
sir.
see now. Yeah, ma'am. Now it is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So, as you know, today's topic is life cycle phases of contracts in construction technology and project management. What is life cycle? As we all know, what we have learned from the childhood until now, we are learning. It's a learning phase for all of us. A life cycle for a man who comes in this world. What are those life cycles? The first life cycle is that he is in the stomach of a mother when he comes out to the in the world, which is infant. Then he becomes a child. Then he becomes a youth. Then becomes a young man or woman, and then goes to old age, and then that's the end of it. So these are our life cycles, and those are actually the life cycle steps. Same way, when you were talking to me about contracts in construction technology and project management, it has a life cycle. What are those life cycles? The first basic is engineering management. Second is procurement contracts management. Then we have insurance management services, safety, health, and environmental services, settlement of dispute, arbitration, and choice of law, taxes, duties, and related obligations, documentum management services, and contracting and standard contracting terms. Today, we are going to concentrate more from procurement contracts management side. Briefly, I will take an overview of the engineering management side. what happens on that engineering management module. We will not go into details because that's a big area, a topic, a very hardcore technical topic, which requires a special session to be carried out. What does engineering management have? It has got many life cycles involved in that. What is that? First is feasibility study. A task is given for a facility to be constructed. What is the first step? Is a feasibility, where all the technocrats and the engineers and the consultants come in and start developing with the templates, the study. When they do that, they find that there is a front end design, engineering design required, basic engineering package has to be developed. That is being done. Then they find out there is a bill of quantity to be made from conceptual layout and estimated software for the project, which they do that. Then there are process engineering involved in that, detailed engineering packages involved, 3D modeling, general arrangement drawings and fabrication drawings, civil, structural, piping, static equipment, HVAC, fire protection, instrumentation and control system. So these are some of the basic disciplines I have included in this engineering management. It depends upon case by case basis on the RFP basis of the client. But majority, we have all these things. And on with study of this all evolves a bill of quantity, a bill of material, which is very vital for a construction project. Any facility to be constructed, any facility to be laid, this is very important. On that basis, a project can be made, a measurable one. It can be made a budget-oriented one. It can be made a what you call estimated and given for the RFQ for the bidders to bid. This is the first step. Now, what is the next? The most important is now we will concentrate on our contracts management, which is also known as procurement and contracts management. This is the core area. Now, as you know, this is the core heart of the whole project, whole system, where the procurement of the particular tender has to be made, then contract has to be awarded, execution has to be done, and then proper monitoring, administration, project management has to be observed, and then we have to have the closeout very amicably done. So we will go through each and every life cycle of this contracts management. Basically, first, all of you must be knowing, and you have heard, I have heard, everybody heard, contracts management, contracts management. What is a contracts management? See, setup of a typical contracting department of an organization should be like this. More or less, it has to be like that. A contract department comprises of a contracts manager, who is the individual portfolio who heads the contracting department. Under him are various so-called assistants. They are known as administrators. One is a contract administrator, then procurement and tender.
Extremely sorry to again disturb you in the between. So you have to little bit. Can you zoom in because audience are not able to see it properly. It's okay if we lose out some lower portion of the page because there is nothing. Just zoom in a bit.
What you said, I didn't get you.
Sir, you have a little bit zooming in is required because the font is very small. We cannot see.
Okay, zooming moment. No, but how? Okay, wait a minute, man. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
is it okay?
No, sir. Zooming in there, that won't zoom in here.
Okay. Now, just see now. Ma'am, is it okay? Because what I have done here is the maximum I have taken. What is that? 381 percentage.
Zooming in there will not help in presentation time.
Okay, let's see. I will do more. Now, this is the maximum I have taken. This is.
No, sir. You have to zoom in here itself.
What I should do now? What you said?
Mm-hmm. Sir, go to slideshow mode.
Okay.
Here. Is there any? One second, sir.
What should I do here?
Sir, come out from slideshow mode. Yeah, yeah. Here only you zoom a little bit, decrease zooming in.
Okay, okay, fine. We will do it from here. This is
Yeah,
okay.
huh. This
This
is
is
better, far better. This is a little bit
this is
visible. I
this
can
far
give
better.
you. Yeah, yeah. This is better, sir. Yeah. You can scroll it down while reading it out, and that will
Yes.
be better
Oh,
because
yeah.
my slideshow mode
Okay.
is.
So sorry about it. So this is the
No
my.
worries, sir.
Okay.
No worries.
Now, what happens? As I mentioned to you, a typical contracts department have a contracts manager in charge. Then there are various administrators. So I have given you a typical example how the setup has to be of the contracts department. The contracts management have a contract administrator, procurement and tendering administrator, a vendor registration administrator. Then they have under them various heads, various people working. They are known as contract advisors. For administrators, for procurement, they have contract specialists, contract advisors, and for vendor, they have contract advisors. Now, what does you mean by contract administrator? Contract administrator is nothing, but he is the one who administers or when the contract is awarded from the contracting side, from the contract department side of the company. What are his roles and responsibilities? There are plenty of roles and responsibility for him. But what are the main things that we will see in the contract administration section later on? But majority high-end templates are he processes service orders, he monitors risks and management, he processes invoices, evaluates contractors, and informs if any variations or alterations or what extensions have to be provided or not. That all is monitoring. Plus, a lot of other activities which we will go in detail when we come to contract administration side. What does procurement and tendering administration do? They are the one responsible when they receive all the tender pack or the scope of work, the estimate, and the bill of quantity, and the budgeted estimate and approved scope to go for tendering. They get it, and then they make a bid evaluation criteria for technical and commercial evaluation, and all these scopes, estimation, everything is put it together, and they make a criteria for technical and commercial, and which are the bidders, whether it should be competitive bid, or whether it should be sole source bid, or whether it should be lump sum bid, or to uh, this all is decided by the procurement tendering in conjunction with the user, and management approval is sought. A tender is prepared, it is issued, and then evaluated, and letter of intent is issued, and contract is executed. Now, more details on procurement and tendering, we will go in that section when we go ahead. What is vendor registration administration doing? He has the role to play. There are various vendors who come and want to come and bid for the project, but there is a process. What is that process? You need to go to and follow. That is known as registration. So each one, he submits their company profile, he submits his project work experience, submits his financial abilities, the audited statements and other statements, and those are taken up, and company have a criteria for evaluation from 0 to 10 crore, from 10 to 20, 50 crore, and 50 crore to 100 and 100 and crore. So these are the way they are segregated. They are put to evaluation by putting the parameters, and as the software is already there, and the things are evaluated. If any clarification is required, something is missing, adding this and that is taken care of. And when they find a particular vendor is very much good for a register, to go for as a bidder or a register vendor for the company, management approval is taken, his documents are provided to the executive committee of the company to ratify it, and then he is put on the bid slate, or he is put in the company's what called registration process for next bidding also. Now, can you see this slide? Okay. This is a typical contract.
So zoom in, and once as you go in the stepwise, you explain each step. That time you go scroll down like that. Now starting from top. Yes.
Okay. Now what we will do? We are here. Okay. We are here.
Now, yeah.
We do now. Okay. So this is a set of a typical contracts management flow chart for issuing tenders, making it into contract form, execution. There are various phases as I was talking to you. What is the first phase? The first phase is very important, and that is known as uh, authorization of contract. But before I go to authorization of contract, let me tell you 1 minute of you and tell you that the most important is that we must ensure getting the contract right. Okay, because if the contract has so many factors which affect them, either they can be successful or either they can be not unsuccessful, but we have to see that the objective is to have a successful contract. So what is the objectives? The objectives are good preparation and accurate assessment of needs helps create a clear out-based specification, effective evaluation procedures, and selection will ensure that a contract is awarded to the right service provider. What is the next? The right contract. The contract is the foundation for the relationship. It should include aspects such as allocation of risk, quality of service required, value for money mechanism, as well as procedure for communication and dispute resolution. It should be single business focus. Each party, that is the company and the contractor, needs to understand the objectives and business of each other. The customer must have clear business objective coupled with clear understanding of why the contract will contribute to them. Then service delivery management and contract administration. This is very important. Effective governance will ensure that the customer gets what is agreed to the level of quality required. The performance under the contract must be monitored to ensure that the customer continues to get value for money. Relationship management. Mutual trust and understanding, openness, and excellent communications are as important to the success of an arrangement as the fulfillment of the formal contract terms and conditions. Then continuous improvement. What does it mean? Improvements in price, quality, or service should be sought and wherever possible built into the contract terms. This is very important. See what happens. Like to give a small example. Suppose he's supplying a manpower to the company and the contract is for 3 years and he has a built-in rate for that, which is known as unit rate per day basis or a per monthly basis. But you suddenly found that now this pandemic came, such calamity came, or some recession came, or inflation came, and then the next year he cannot have those manpower continue in our projects, continue with the same contract. Why? Because the rates which he quoted was, he thought that for the next 3 years, the surrounding, the environment will be same, but it is not same. So we should have an escalation factor, which is known as incremental factor percentage always in the contract. That is what we are talking. Then people skill and continuity. There must be people with the right interpersonal and management skills to manage this relationship on peer-to-peer basis and multiple level in the organizations. Clear roles and responsibilities should be defined and continued of key staff should be ensured as far as possible. Important is knowledge. Those involved in managing the contracts must understand the business fully and know the contract documentation inside out. Very important. See, we find a lot of claims coming in, a lot of arbitrations happen later on. Yes, there are other factors, but this is very important. The one who are involved, the team or the individual or the team under contracts management, under the procurement and tendering, they should have adequate knowledge of the contracting terms and rules, regulations. That is very important. Flexibility. Our contract should have a flexibility from both sides. They're willing to adapt the terms of the contract to reflect a rapidly changing world. Problems are bound to be there, but when the contract is awarded, there should be a scope to rectify it, to continue it smoothly. Change management, as I was saying, contract should be capable of changing the terms, requirements, and perhaps scope also. And the relationship should be strong and flexible enough to facilitate. Proactivity. Good contract management is not reactive, but aims to anticipate and respond to future business needs. Now, where can the contract go wrong? You say everything I've included, terms and conditions, okay, and he has been awarded according to the technical and commercial evaluation, and the contract is going to be in full force. Yes. But in this stage also, there are so many parameters which one has to look at. What is that? If contracts are not well managed from the customer side or client side, this following will happen. The service provider is obliged to take control. What happens if he finds the knowledge and the experience of the client side contracting department is weak, and he will take a mightier word on that, and he will have a might on that, and he can control that contract. Then decisions are not taken at the right time or not taken at all. New business process do not integrate with existing process because that feasibility is not there in the contract. And people from in both organizations fail to understand their roles, responsibility, obligations. There are misunderstandings, disagreements, and underestimations. Too many issues are escalated inappropriately, which are not required. Progress is slow, or there seems to be inability to move forward. The intended benefits are not realized, and opportunities to improve value for money and performance are missed, and ultimately resulting in the contract becoming unworkable. So these are very important. And why this happens also is because of poorly drafted contracts also. Then there are inadequate resources assigned to contracts management. The customer team does not match the provider team in terms of skills and experience. And there is a personality clash, ego clash, there is a failure to check service provider assumptions. Authorities or responsibility relating to commercial decisions are not clear. A lack of performance measurement or benchmark by the customer is put, and a focus on current arrangements rather than what is possible or the potential for improvement. Failure to manage retained risk results in the contract. So one has to be very, very careful. The contract department, the heart of the project, it is the one who will issue tender, award contract, execute, monitor, and see the closeout also. Now, what are various forms of agreements of contract documents? The various forms of contract documents are like examples, few are consultancy services based on service order, drilling rigs and vessels, general services which comprises of EPC and EPCM contracts, hiring of specialists, inspection and quality as a QA, QC based on service order basis, IT lump sum projects including maintenance and support, lease, rental of equipment, maintenance and overhaul, and lump sum project based, which are lump sum project based contract, unit rate, lump sum or lump sum turnkey. So these are the various forms of contract which the contract department does. Now what happens now? Okay, now the user has initiated the project, and what he does, the first slide now, authorization for contract. What is authorization for contract? The user, the proponent department, or the executing department, we call it as a project control support division of an organization, is responsible for facility or construction of the company's facility. So what they do, they have a form, they have a criteria of authorization for contract life cycle, wherein they write a brief description of and title for the contract. Then they write what the tender, the type of tender should be there for this contract, whether it should be open, restricted, open, non-open, sole source, selective. These are all the things. They are the one who decide, who make the scope of work. As I said, they make the estimates, they make the scopes, they make as through the engineering management, everything is involved, and bill of quantities also evolved for the measurable unit bid form to be developed. So all these things, this is taken. They calculate in the Primavera or the estimation software the estimated contract value for this project. Then is it going to be expense or capital value? What will be the plan start date, end date, how much months or years they see this facility has to be, this facility will be completed. Then internally they have a cost center, internal order, project code, account code. Is it approved budget or not budget, or budgeted or capital budget, or it requires management executive budget approval? All these factors are taken care and done. And then they decide, yes, it should be a lump sum project, it has to go. Then they make all the documentation and say the activity is in the budget proposed, or is this the authorization for expenditure or to be approved later on? Is it an activity or task number? Everything is funds are regularized, and it is sent to the executive committee for ratification. As soon as the executive committee ratified, approve the budget, it is passed on to the finance and account department, and there is a corporate planning department called who looks after all the project of the company, and it sees that the budget is originated or it is there or it is added, and then he approves. And when everything from the finance is approved, all the packages sent down to the contracts department to procurement and tendering division. Now, this is the core division of the contracts management. This is the department, this is the division of the contracts department, which is responsible for procurement and tendering of the full project. So what is their scope and what is the roles of them? They will sit with the user and through the criteria in the company contracting manual, find out whether this has to be an open tender, which is a competitive, or it has to be restricted open tender, or it has to be selective quotation tender, or is it going to be sole source tender? So if everything is fine, they will go for bidding. So what is, and they will decide on type of pricing methods also, whether it should be lump sum, unit rate, modified lump sum. It should have lump sum and unit rate. What happens? There are some, there are projects which are, these projects are lump sum, but there are some inside in the lump sum projects, there are some categories, some items which require for certain period, those services are required for specialized manpower or technician, technical guy, or intellectual property, which are then again built in as a service order process. Okay, so that all has to be taken care of, and it has to be seen also if there is going to be reimbursable cost to be included or not. All these factors have to be taken care by the procurement and tendering department, and see that budget is okay, cost estimation is fine, and everything. When there is everything is okay, what they do? They just go and make a criteria. What is that criteria? A criteria for technical and commercial evaluation. Okay, that we call it as bid evaluation procedure. That is very important here. So here it is defined, and the bid evaluation procedure will tell us. It will summarize it will say the guidelines of the bid evaluation criteria will be developed for technical and commercial, and the objective will be to select the contractor with the requisite technical capability, organization competition, and mobilization readiness to efficiently accomplish the work in accordance with specifications with least cost to company. Now here, various invitation for tender letters, then specific instructions to bidder, which we call it instructions to bidder, appendix to bidders, to write this instruction to bidder, then form of agreement, then general terms and conditions which are to be attached to this tender, like definitions, mobilization, demobilization, work commencement date and type for completion, scope and manner of work, contractors' provisions, companies' provisions, considerations for payment, and all those things have to be defined. Performance security, whether performance bond is required or not from the contractor. Then what are responsibility and indemnity from the contractor side and responsibility and indemnity from the company side. Then assignment and subcontract. There is a special provision has to be there in the contract. Main contractor who is awarded a contract cannot execute, cannot comply, cannot at any time do full project from start to the end. He requires the services of subcontractors. As I said, they may be a technical specialist, they may be intellectual properties like Siemens or SCADA, process-based thing, or any other thing. Are also to be included there. The work program is very important, which are daily work schedule, weekly work schedule, monthly work schedule has to be there. Project plan should be approved every day. Daily musters should be signed. That is there. Then procurement, site work, inspection, if anything is required for inspection, some facility component, yes, that has to be taken care. Then tests have to be done for some equipment or some tools which are on site. Then test on completion, some acceptance has to be provided. And now most important you have to have is delay in completion and reduction in consideration. What does this mean? Oh, this is another article. I'm not going much detail. I just give you in half a minute. When the contract is given and the contractor, it's a 1-year contract and starts, and after 3 months you find that particular milestone, he is held up or he's taking more time to complete it because there are many things involved. The company's approval, okay, he submits something to the client, then he needs some resources, some equipment, some tool, something has to come from overseas, something. So all these things is mattering time, and then what happens? He is getting delayed. But there's an article in the clause in the contract which says if you delay by 30 days, you get a penalty of so much percentage. If you delay by 60 days, you get, or if you delay by 90 days. So the contractor has to ensure he has to do it time bound. so as to company has to ensure that they give all approvals time bound. So all these factors are there. Warranty is there. If some thing has been brought third party and installed, warranty, then suspension of work, termination, all these articles are to be adequately included in the tender document. And then a criteria is developed, and then a, what we call is a timetable or a time scale for procurement of tender is developed by the procurement and tendering department. What does they do? What do you mean? They will say, okay, they will make us timetable saying that technical proposal should be issued in this format, commercial in this format, and all this package has to be there, and the bidder has to submit all these things, and the tender. Suppose the tender is competitive is open when it is issued, and if they have to submit by 30 days, so they will give both the technical and commercial together, along with their various criteria mentioned there, like project experience, their registration of company, audited statement, their past, previous, present experience, their resources experience, okay, and many other required things like taxation, tax certificates, or GST, or whatever in India we call, all are complied with. So these are the people, procurement tendering, along with the user, they sit and develop a criteria for evaluation methodology, which they say if the technical proposal will be violated for completeness of the submittal as required by the bid invitation package. Each of the technical forms will be reviewed to ascertain they are adequately filled by project requirements and defined in the bid invitation package. And there will be full points for the response is complete and detailed and exceeds the minimum requirements. 70% points, I'm just giving you one company. Response meets the minimum requirements, and 0 for information not submitted. These are the criteria developed for the technical, and then commercial bids, which has to be completed. So the text says commercial bids for only those contractors who have been determined technically acceptable will be opened, and each bidder will be assigned with the commercial bid analysis worksheet and spreadsheet. So what do you mean by here? Now, most important to understand here is, as I was saying, a technical criteria is developed. So what happens? We have a spreadsheet for technical criteria. And what does that spreadsheet say? That spreadsheet says that the contractor has to submit administrative forms, technical work experience, project work experience, and his methodology for this facility. That will have maximum percentage he should get is 70 to qualify. Those bidders who make maximum 70%, minimum 70%, they qualify and then go to.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, commercial package.
Sir,
Yes?
please update your screen also, sir, with lectures.
Oh, yeah. Because I am here on the procurement and tendering only, okay? At this stage, bid evaluation, yeah. Okay, I'm not gone further down.
Okay.
Okay. So now what happens? Those bidders who have got 70 and above marks in the technical are only considered for the commercial opening of the bid. And their bids are open, and whoever is found disposed to the company are given the contract. Now, the most interesting part is that some clarifications are done also in between, and then the contract is awarded. What happens when the contract is awarded? A letter of intent is issued, and the bidder comes and signs the contract, and he mobilizes within 30 or 60 days with the resources and equipment. What happens next? As soon as the contract is awarded and it's gone for execution, you see the two templates. What are those? Contract admin, including risk management and project management. What does it mean? It means from the contracting department, as I said there is a contract administration division. It takes over the role of contract admin. Okay, he is the one responsible to administer the project now. Okay, and they will do the administration of the project. And what is project management? Project management is from the proponent or the user side, who will technically monitor the project along with the contractor on field, on office. Okay, so that is the way the things are done. And now there are two divisions now working simultaneously for execution side. So what does the contract administration do? In a nutshell, I will just say you. Administration, it controls and and manage service orders, as I said you, communicates between company and contractor. It accepts completion of mobilization of equipment, resources, tools, and monitors their schedules as per milestones, agreed milestones. Then he is the one accepting completion of work, start of warranty period of any equipment. Then he gives, if in the contract he finds, along with the project management with the user department, that the contract requires any extension due to any reason, then that is also taken care of by the contract administration division. Then formal notice of invoking any specific clause is required to be added or deleted. That also is taken by variation or addendum by this department division. Then what they do, they process invoices and payment. They receive, verify, and process invoices. They are also responsible for evaluating contractors' performance. That's very important, because this every periodically milestone it is being evaluated and it's filed. Contractor receives one copy, management receives one copy. One is filed with the contracting department. Then if termination of contract upon convenience is also needed or not needed, if this is up to discretion of the company. As I said, the clauses are there. If the blacklisting barring of contractors for company from future company tenders, okay, and many other things like contractors' claims, variation orders, formation of claims committee. And in the future, we will see when we say settlement of claims, that this contract administration division is also one of the claims review committee in that. That will come later on, right? And they are also responsible for monitoring the risk of this project. They issue and risk logs. They maintain risk management plans. They have roles and responsibilities defined, performance reporting, developing schedule plans, lessons learned. All that is being monitored and done by the contract administration division. Now, what does the project management do? The project management of the user department is very much important department. They do the technical part. What they do, they just see project scope and deliverables are being adhered to by the contractor. Every day, a logbook is signed for their daily work, weekly work, or a monthly work, and all that project, it is going as per the schedule. If it is going to sleepage is not there, escalation is not there, and correspondence or the communication is missing, not missing, then risk and issue management plans in place, communication is going on fine, and those parameters like development, all those things from the Prima Vida or the project software is done and monitored, being simultaneously done by contracts admin and project management. Now, what happens as the project was getting to what we call a finishing area, and we find the contractor has he wants some more money. Maybe he might have put a lesser bid, or maybe the management has added some scope, although there was a variation and the extension with the variation was given. But there was something which contractor feels that he should be compensated more. Why? Because he thinks that work requires additional money. So in such cases, what happens? The contractor puts in an invoice. He doesn't put a claim. He puts an invoice for those additional work or for that additional scope or anything he wants additional money for. He puts the reasons. And if the company rejects, who rejects the first is the finance and accounting department, because they strictly adhere to the contracting schedules, the contracting payment schedule. And what it says, they complete this milestone, they get this. But there is no claim, there is no extra money to be paid to the contractor for his claims which he has put under this invoice. So what happens? It is rejected. When it is rejected, then what happens? These are now going to the claims. Then he puts it as a claim to the company. Okay. Now, as I was mentioning before that there is a settlement, there is a claims. So what happens? Normally, through experience, I have seen what types of claims happen. Claims happen because inherent project risks, allocation of risk under existing contracts are not monitored, and then employers, engineers' claims are there. Okay, delegation by the engineer is not proper. Then contemporary records are not kept in proper. Then whatever engineer's evaluation is not intact. Then what happens? There's a delay for some payment or completion of job. Then extension of time is sought by the contractor. He tries to apply a force majeure article which is in the contract. There are delay due to damages, claims, and then there are ground conditions. There are many other things which the contractor tries to find a loophole and tries to put a claim for the for this claim for this invoice which was rejected. Now what happens? Immediately when the invoice was rejected, the contractor puts the claims. What is a claim? Claim is nothing but a representation letter with all his backups and documents and rejection by the finance department of the company to the contracting department. That it comes to the contracting department and contracts manager receives the same, and there he is the one who forms a CRC committee. What is CRC? Claims Review Committee. And this claims review committee comprises of contracting department, the user or the proponent department, the project control support department, who's the executive department, the legal department, and then the finance department. These are the ones who make the claims committee. Now what happens? As soon as the claim is received from the contractor with necessary representation, it is registered and proper claims number is given. Now contract administration from the contracts department is responsible. He becomes the head of this claims and chairs the committee meetings, and so are the other members. They join in, and a claim is then they start reviewing. Now when they review internally and then they ask, the correspondences are reviewed, the verbal or written documents are reviewed, and all internal processes are done. Then contractor is also brought forward for his viewpoint. The company's viewpoints are taken from the execution point, from the administration point. Okay, all these things are taken, and then ultimately it was decided by the claims committee that the version or the claim put by the contractor holds no good, and they give a reason for that, because maybe it is not under the purview of the contracting terms, maybe it was contractor's own fault, as I said, delay from his side, and everything was put on his thing, and it goes to non-settlement of his claims, and that results in a dispute, and it will go to arbitration and other process that we will come to later on after these slides. Okay, now what happens? This contract, when we added so many terms, we also added insurance management terms. What are insurance management? This is a very high, a very critical article, which are separate addendum has to be there for this project. Now, there has to be a comprehensive general liability insurance, which for any one accident, occurrence, and a number of occurrence, or in unlimited in case of personal injury, property damage, and in case of sudden and accidental pollution or contamination, those amounts are fixed by the company, maybe 5 million, 10 million, whatever dollar or something. Comprehensive automobile insurance are given, because all vehicles of the contractors will be moving in and out with the drivers and their employees. Then very important is contractors erection or risk insurance for the full value of the contract price of all onshore, offshore facility work covering the materials and work in progress, including value of all material and equipment provided by the company and by the contractor, and in successful completion of the performance acceptance test required and issuance of the performance acceptance test under the contract. Such insurance shall in addition cover for damage to companies' existing surrounding properties, facilities, and all other things, blah, 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 and for so many dollars. Okay. Then what is there? Then there is constructional plant and equipment insurance. Then the most important is workman's compensation insurance. So many workers of the contractor, the subcontractor, the third-party worker, they all work day in, day out, and they are working in shift. So they are all to be covered appropriately as per the company policy. So these are the highlights of the insurance which are taken care in the thing. Now, next part comes is safety, health, and environmental. This is another vital article which we have to be there. Safety, health, and environment. When you have a construction type of project, yes, this is very important. You have to see compliance with safety, health, and environmental requirements are met. Deviation from safety and environmental requirements are avoided. And you have to see that safety program of the company which is in place and safety program of the contractor is in place, and they are being properly monitored, properly adhered to by the contractor. See, necessary work permits for their workers. And there are high-end critical equipments and tools like welding, cutting equipment, protective equipment. These are tools. There are high critical equipment which are to be properly, safely, brought in and brought out, wore in, wore out. So there are proper procedures. They are followed through. If there are cartridge-operated tools, ladders, scaffolders, excavations, fire prevention, formwork, all these things comes under the safety and environmental policy. And you must see that contractor, when he had submitted his proposal in the time of technical bidding, he had included, and you find and verify that his applicable company engineering requirement consists of waste management program, water supply protection, wastewater management, spill control, solid waste management, air pollution are all in place. Camp sanitation, food work, hygiene, everything is in place. So these are very important aspects for the safety and point of view. From the environmental point of view, you must see that environmental management plan is in force. The plan which he has submitted, he has to submit again before the start of the day, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before, and company ratifies it. Just because there are many critical, non-critical areas where he will be working. There are many hazardous, non-hazardous area he works. So we have to see that his waste management plan are in place. We have to find that applicable company and engineering requirements are made. Okay, there are water supply protection program, wastewater management program, spill control, solid waste management, are all in place. And the most important, lastly, hazardous waste storage and handling, method of collection, disposal, requirement for establishing a landfill disposal site. All these are in place and are made in are already in existence and ratified by the company from the contractor part. And then you find that he is fantastic on the health side, safety, health, and environment. Now, when we were talking before, when we said about the claims, and the claim has, when the contractor's claim was not settled by the company, so what does then he do? Then he has no recourse to go anywhere. He cannot go back again to the user. He cannot go back to the finance. He cannot go to executive department. Again, he cannot go to contract department. So what he does, this claim, he then creates an appeal, an arbitration appeal, which he creates, and he gives one notice to the contracting department and says, I am filing this, I have a dispute with you, you have rejected my claims, so I will now require to have an arbitration procedure to be followed as mentioned in the contracting terms, in the contract terms. So I would now like you to please start the process. So what they will do now, the most important here is, now what is the choice? The most important is in all these cases of arbitration, the choice of law is very important. And like in India, how it is controlled, the interpretation and performance of this contract and any other agreements arising out of relating to this contract shall be monitored according to our law. Now what happens? Now the contractor and the company have a choice for going to arbitration. So what happens? Any dispute, controversy or claim as it related because of non-acceptance of the claim, okay, between the parties, okay. So according to the rules of the Indian regulation or law and legal articles of arbitration and all those things, one or more arbitrators can be appointed according to the regulation rules of the contract. So what does happen? Suppose one arbitration is appointed, which was mentioned in the contract and as per the rules mentioned in the Indian legal law and all those things, the claiming party, like the contractor, sends to the company a written notice of its intention to refer its claim to arbitration by one arbitrator. Okay, this is mentioned. It was mentioned in the contract document. The written notice shall state the name, qualification, and contact details of the person that the claimant nominates as arbitrator, after asserting in writing that the nominee consents to act as an arbitrator. Within 30 days or 40 days, whatever the date, the defending party shall respond in writing whether it agrees or not agrees for this arbitration. Now, if the parties are unable to agree to submit their dispute to arbitration by a single arbitrator, then they have every other right to go for multiple arbitrator dispute settlement. That which is mentioned in the contract. So what happens there? Then there are panel of 3 members who are appointed by as an arbitrator by the claimant party, and then again the notices are given to the company side, and the company has to respond, and then all those things happen. Now during this time, when suppose it is agreed that arbitrator is appointed, then what is the procedure? The parties shall agree upon the rules of procedure that shall govern the arbitration proceedings. If the parties are unable to agree upon the applicable rules of procedure, the arbitration shall by majority vote establish the applicable rules of procedure. Now, the parties hereby explicitly consent to the appointment of arbitration in accordance with the regulation and rules of this contract, and the parties expressly agree that arbitrators so appointed are arbitrators and not conciliators, and have no authority to effect conciliation. Now, this is the area now they think we should do, and when arbitrator, whether a 1-man arbitrator or a 3-man arbitrator decide, then the claim is decided by them, and for the verdict, okay. Now, the arbitrators shall base their award only upon the evidence present to them, the terms of the contractual agreements between the parties, and the laws of India, wherever it is agreed. Now, the arbitrators shall assess in their award the amount of the cost and expenses of arbitration and the arbitration fees. The party who has lost the arbitration shall pay these costs, expenses, and fees. If each party has partly lost and partly won, the arbitrator shall apportion the cost, expense, and fees between the parties in proportion to their respective losses. In this way, what is the finality of this arbitration? This arbitration provision shall be specifically enforceable by both parties under the regulations and rules, and the award of the arbitrator shall be final and binding upon the party. Should any part of this contract or any agreements arising out of this relation relating to be null and void by force of law, such nullified shall not otherwise affect the validity of the arbitration provision. In the course of the arbitration, the parties shall continue to execute their respective obligation on the contract and continue to execute the project until it's closed out. This is another part. Now comes the taxes, duties, and related obligations. As you know, in every place, in every country, in every city, we have taxes. So also in this contract, in the tender which was issued, we have an article on taxes. We cannot just put a taxes and article saying that, yes, whatever you do the work, we will charge you GST 18% or 9%. No. It is not like that. The contractor, it's a professional service. It's a professional work he is going to do. It's a facility construction project for the company. Okay, maybe it's a 1 rupee or a $1 billion, but that is a project. Here, the contractor has to not only mobilize resources, equipment, tool from within, but from outside also. He may also require outside company or his associate or affiliate companies to come in. So that's why these taxes, duties, and related obligations are very important. Where the local company who is properly registered and very much authorized to do the work in India, he's authorized to get income tax certificate, GST certificate, whatever certificate which are in place, and whatever his taxes are clear and all those things are given. But there are certain things. Now he requires one of the foreign company or a foreign entity to come to this contract, to come to India to perform such milestone wherein his services are required. Maybe it's a manpower, equipment, or maybe a facility, milestone, some development, a brownfield refinery he has to develop a gas station, and for that expertise, he brought somebody from Holland. So his associate company from Holland. That time, this article, taxes, duties, and related obligations plays a very important role because there are in our contract terms called withholding tax text. What does it mean? We charge taxation for the local company. There are so rules, but for the overseas company also there are rules. So we withhold the taxes. We have a percentage for those withholding, and we clear after the periodic invoices are cleared and finally retained. Okay, that is one part of the withholding aspect, and then we pay to the contractor. Now, if everybody must be aware what is happening now in our present. There is one small case going on. You all may be knowing one company called Vedanta Gas and Oil Company. Now they are doing a lot of gas exploration, oil exploration for Indian government and Indian company and India place. They have a associate or affiliate company called Cain Oil, CAIRN, Cain Oil, which assist them technically. They are the technical overseas company who come often and do the work and they go away. Okay, or they are associated with them and they are a part of them. So for last many years, they have been executing as a jointly, as a singularly for Indian government. And Indian government was already deducting taxes for Vedanta invoices and also for the Cain oil invoices. So what was happening? A two-way deduction was going on without the knowledge, or maybe with the knowledge, or it was an oversight and not. And ultimately, the Cain oil has submitted his taxation clearance certificate from overseas, from India and everywhere. And now he's claiming for more than 15, 20,000 crores of tax dues from India government. Why? Because it was not properly monitored by our proponent. Who is the proponent? The entity like ONGC, BPCL or GAIL or something proponent. They have not monitored the tax provisions mentioned in the articles of the provision of the contracting terms. Maybe it is there, it was not followed. Maybe it was not there, it was forced upon. This has resulted now having a great embarrassment to us. So this is very important. It has to be properly managed. That's why, and you have to see that in taxes, duties, custom clearance, duties, because so many times items are brought from outside and overseas and properly accounted for. That sums up to taxes, duties, and related obligation. What is the document management services? This is very important, document management services. Now, document management services, okay, now this is very important. When I find in India, this is a service which has been forced upon. It has been added as a life cycle for the contracting department. It has been forced upon. Why I want to say forced upon? Because when you see a life cycle of a contracts management, you don't find documentum management service. What is documentum management service? It is nothing but to and fro documents flowing from the company to the contractor, from contractor to company. That has to be monitored, it has to be stored, it has to be followed, it has to be sequenced, it has to be version-wise, it has to be enhanced, variation, and extensions monitored properly. In India, what is happening? There are service companies who are doing these document and management services for the contractor because contractor don't have adequate resources, not equipped to fully do that, or is busy with so many work. And that's why so many instructions, verbal, written, are not being received by the contractor, which is a part of the claims, which results in the claims, which goes to bad contract managementship, which results in delay. So many factors get affected. So, but in foreign countries, especially in Middle East, I have found the user, the proponent department, they have a document control clerk in their department, and also the contractor have a document control clerk in their offices, and back and forth the documents are flown in through these emissaries, and it is very smooth and very easy to monitor, very easy to go, and very easy to control. A control number can be given, sequence number can be given, version numbers can be given, extension number can be given, addendum can be given, any agreement, anything can be given and done by this document control. So the chances of claims and claims going to arbitration are very, very remote. If they also at any time the claims comes in, it is handled and properly settled in claim side. It never goes to the arbitration level. Okay, because the documentation is very vital part of the system. Now, and one small example, my particular milestone required the contractor to develop a 20 feet road of 2 kilometers, which is his fourth milestone. And he started work as per the project plan, as per the project acceptance, work schedule, daily schedule, weekly schedule, monthly schedule. But all of a sudden, one day, fine day, or the project engineer or from the company side comes on the site and says, hey, please don't do 22 kilometers, do it 2.2 kilometers. And the contractor abides by that and tries to do 2.2. But here is the mistake of the contractor, and here is the mistake of the company. The company gave a verbal instruction. The contractor followed his verbal instruction. There is no documentation. The documentation says 2 kilometers. And who will pay for this extra 200? Nobody. This will go to claims then later on. This will go to then slippage. Then so many factors will get affected. That's why as soon as when he said 2 kilometers more, 2.2, the contractor should say, hey, I want it in writing. The contractor can tell his documentum clerk, the documentum clerk can talk to the documentum clerk of the company, and the document is prepared by these people properly and executed. So this is the role of documentum. So documentum is a very big item now I find in India, which is not being monitored, not being properly adhered to by the country, by the company and the contractor, which is one of the major concern and part for the claims. Now, come back to the other slide now, the next slide. The next slide says e-contracting and standard. What is that? E-contracting and, 1 second, sir. I will just go to this is a very important slide. After this comes e-contracting and standardization of terms. What does it mean? This is very important. In India, any company, big multinational, government, semi-government, they issue tender. There are portals, and the portals we log in, or from the portal we download it and finish, and we do it. The tender is given to us, to the contractor, a nominated contractor, an open contractor, and then the tender is bid, and he submits the tender through the portal, and it goes to the company. But here is the main thing. As I said I had repeatedly told before in my various articles I have written, and various times in my talks also I mentioned in the arbitration lectures going on previously. You see, we are missing e-contracting which is a digitization or e-contracting of the contracting terms. That is missing in India. That is not being properly or not taken very seriously. Okay. Now, what does that mean? See, as I mentioned you earlier, as I was saying to you, there are few excerpts of standardization for contracting. I was saying consultancy services, based service order, drilling rigs and vessels, general services, including EPC and EPCM contract. All this contract should have a standardization of terms. But when I was discussing to many legal interpreters, lawyers, arbitrators in India and Bombay, and when in LinkedIn also, I find they say there cannot be a standardization term for any particular sector, any particular area, like drilling or EPC or EPC. Yes, I agree to that. There cannot be, but I want to give you one nice example. I was a part of the standardization team of standardization of terms of Saudi Aramco company, the world's largest oil company, and we standardized the terms. But as you said, I rightly agree, all 100% contracting terms cannot come for that particular, say, EPC sector. There are EPC sector varies from facility to facility, scope of work changes. Okay, so brownfield may be a greenfield may be a brownfield, and there are so many additions, deletions. Those terms in the contract, we are so nice and flexible in the contracting side. Those are included as Schedule H, which are specialized terms and conditions, which we can add to the standing contracting terms and add to our contracting tender document. So my dear friend, this is what I want to encourage and tell all my arbitrators, friends, legal interpreters, and all the lawyers in the country, that we can add that Schedule H and keep as a case-by-case basis. Those 2, 3, 5 terms are there. We can add and let us standardize the terms. How to standardize the term? That is also I will give solution. The solution is very easy. Any multinational, any company, any government organization, take it from small your university. What we can do is just have a steering committee formed of accounts, a guy from accounts, guy from legal, a man from finance, a man from a subject matter expert, and sit down and standardize the terms, standardize the terms, and this standardized term can be a part of our full set for that EPC project, EPC. And then when any proponent or any user is issuing or making any project, we can already sit with contractors and add those terms or delete those terms wherever we require, but it is standardized. And what happens? Now comes the real climax for this as slide. What is that? All this should be not done manually, not through the portal. We should have a software for e-contracting known as contract live management software, which is missing here in our country, missing in our companies, missing in our multinationals. If we have such contract live management software, we can just put and store those standardization terms for all these sectors. And then what happens? The life becomes so easier for the user department, for the contract department, for the execution department, for the finance department. You have to just plug in and play. And then contractor, you issue anything, document, contractor replies in that portal of the CLM, and everything is recorded in that portal, everything is for that particular tender, for that particular contract. And this way, you will find claims are not there, arbitration is reduced, and your headaches are reduced, delays are reduced, and you will find the project which is costing now today, I find 100 crore projects, when it is budgeted, 100 crore extra is kept in the kitty by the user department, by the company, because it will go later on for claims, later on for anything which will be extra beyond. They know it from the beginning. As I mentioned you, maybe because of documental system, because of terms, because of verbal instruction, whatever. But this is the way our project of 100 crores goes to 200 crores. That's the way. We have to eliminate that. We cannot 100% do that, but we can do to a substantial proportion. And by 60, 70%, it can be reduced. And you will find the life easy for all the concerned, the stakeholders. And you will find that everything is fantastically going, because there is nobody can say, I did not receive this document. Nobody can say, I did not receive this email. Nobody can say, this was a verbal instruction. Nobody said there was a de-scoping there. Everything will be recorded. It is recorded through the portal. So now I am an Indian, born in India and having 40 years overseas experience, but I am very, very, very much discontented, unhappy, because my India is number one in IT. It is IT software hub. And right from Bidden, the watchman of my building uses the software which is generated and made by my India and my Indians. But we don't have a CLM software for our contracts. It's a shame for me. I'm very unhappy with that. And that is not only costing time, money, and everybody's concerned. Okay? See, we are here. Everybody's here to work cooperatively. It's a cricket match. Everybody has to be like a player, contribute together and do the good. When there is a scope, when there is an opportunity, when there is a technology, why don't we use that? Why don't we try and experiment that? We find if you go to UAE, you go to Qatar, you go to Aramco, everybody's small Dick and Harry company have this software, e-contracting, and see the life over there. So that's what I wanted to tell you all, guys. Now come to the last point. So we should have a look at that in contracting and status of them. Last point is contract closeout. Now contracting closeout is very simple, where what happens, all the work which is done, properly signed off. After signing off, everything is signed by the finance department. And 1 second, please. Hello? Hello? Yes? So we find that all the milestones are completed, proper sign-off is obtained by the user and by the contractor. It is properly signed and crossed on to the contract department, the finance department, and all the paperwork documentation is done properly. And we find that the closeout of the contract is done. Anything was missing was provided by the user or the contract department, and it finishes our contract. So in this way, the contract comes to an end, properly done. Contractor receives the full, and company pays him all his obligations which were there under the contract by paying him all this backlog or retained money. Sometimes monies are retained on periodic invoices. They are given back. So all these things are done, and we find that The contractor gets a completion certificate from the company side. Contractor is happy. He gets the full money. The company is happy. He satisfied the company's requirement, and the contractor completed the project as per schedule or as per time or as per the criteria laid in the tender document. Now, as I said, all of you, this sums up our full life cycle for this construction project in contracts management life cycle. Now, as you know, the other day I was talking to ma'am and his team. Okay, I would like to ask you all guys, are you interested to know more, some questions from me, from quiz from me, or from some claims from me? You want to hear some stories about the claims, how it is done, how everything? I'm ready for that. Okay, so to begin with, what I can do is I'll just ask you all guys one small question, and you just all of you try to understand that question and try to think how to respond to that. Okay, what is this question? This is a very simple question. As I mentioned, there's a criteria for evaluation, technical and commercial, and we find that for a particular tender, there were 3 bidders and there were 10 marks for a record of experience, and the bidder 1 got 5 marks, the bidder 2 got 5.5, the bidder got 4. Ultimately, all these 3 were considered by the company, although 70% was the criteria. That's for the overall. But for the record of experience, it was this much, and they all got this mark. So commercial, it was found that the bidder 1 got put $15. Second bidder also put $15. Third bidder also put $15. So according to you, who is the winner of this project?
I would request audience, interrupting you. I would request audience to participate in the session, like in the answer the questions, and feel free to unmute yourself and directly you can address your answers to Mr. Hussain sir also.
Yes.
So, second bidder, sir.
So did you get my question? Everybody got 10 in experience, and 10 was the total mark. But in experience, when they submitted, first bidder got 5, second one got 5.5, third one got 4. And then their commercials were open, and then we found that everybody put $15, $15. So who is the winner and why? Anybody can answer.
Second bidder, sir.
Excellent. Why?
Because he had high marks when compared with the bidder 1 and bidder 3, and the bid price is the same as the bidder 1 and bidder 3.
Excellent.
More experience.
What's your name?
Rakesh, sir.
Rakesh, you please send your email ID and your contact details, because you will get a contracts management life cycle written by Rashid Hussain free for you. Okay?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, now, this is an interesting question.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Amit Bhandekar has also given answer in.
Okay, so both of them, you can take, ma'am, their names and telephone and everything. Now, this is a very interesting question. Whoever answer will get a mega prize on this. Okay, read the question. I am reading it. You also read it properly and understand. Okay. Now, there was a contract which started on 1st April 2000. The contract ended on 31st March 2005. The contract type was time unit rate monthly payout of $50,000. What does that mean? See, a contractor was supplying teachers to the company provided school. Okay, the company has schools for their staff. Okay, so they had hired, contractor was hired to provide teachers. The company doesn't like to do all overhead or all those business, so they employ contractor. Now, when a contract was made for 5 years, okay, in each year they are paid every month $50,000, because teacher services are provided on a time and material basis. A teacher works every day, he puts a time sheet, 2 days are holiday, like that. And then you find that April and May each year are paid holiday for these teachers. Every year April and May are paid holidays. Okay. And all contractors submitted every month the invoice. So what was the first date? 1st April 2000. The last date was 31st March 2005. And contractor paid all the invoice, contractors all invoice up to 31st March were paid by company. But look here, the contractor was very unsatisfied. He was not happy. Although he received the full money as per contract terms, 1st April 2000 to 31st March 2005. He said, he submitted 2 more months invoice. What are those 2 months? 2 months are April and May. Each year he was getting a paid holiday. He asked for those 2 months in 30 April and May of 2005 as a paid holiday. But is it justifiable? Now company rejected his claim, rejected his invoice. He put a claim. A claim was rejected because as per contract, if you look at it, what is the validity of the contract? 1st April 2000 to 31st March. So then contractor submitted claim for 100,000. What is 100,000? 2 months, 50,000, 50,000. Now tell me, okay, who is the department for this claim to study what will be the appropriate recommendations for to the management and how it has to be resolved, how it will be resolved. Why I'm saying that this contract was made by me when I was in Aramco, and I was very much embarrassed and very much at loggerhead because despite my vigilance, despite my putting all the contractual terms and the validity and then payouts, everything in the place, I find myself cornered in one side, both from the company side and from the contractor side. But I resolved this ultimately by the grace of God amicably. But how? If anybody says he'll get a mega prize for this.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Sir, my name is Apu Mishra. So, sir, the CRC committee that we have formed, na, the
Yes, yes.
contract review committee, so it will again review the contract because, as you have mentioned, the contract date is ended. So,
Yes.
the regulation and the guidelines only fall between those start date and end date. Now,
Correct.
because the contract date has passed, so the school management committee is not liable to give that money to the contractor. So, I think the management should not give the money, sir.
Good.
And this is how it should be resolved, sir.
Yeah, but you will be surprised. He put a claim, and he was really see what happens. If you may be working with big companies, government sectors, multinationals, you find the contractor is in bed with some of the steering committee, executive committee member. Okay, so he has got some backing also from his side. Okay, so what happens? The claims committee which sees, they have to be very diplomatic also at the same time. They cannot refuse outright. Why? See, their job is at stake. That is secondary thing. But you have to look at the merits and demerits. What is the merits? Merit is the validity of the contract. Okay, what and for according to the company, what is the demerit? Those 2 months are not eligible. Okay, so on that basis, finance account says I don't want to pay. What account looks at it? Account looks at the commercial bid form, which says monthly this much, contract started, contract ended this much he should get period. So the claim was rejected. That is correct. But ultimately, as I said, you when you start working in some companies like multinational, big companies, government sector, you cannot afford to say like that. You cannot afford to do that. You have to, because there's a pressure on you from big tops also, indirectly, directly, not with you, maybe with your manager, with your director. So many people are involved. But you have to see ultimately what is contracts manager's objective. Contract management department is an air hostess department. Like in a plane, air hostess is how she provides the hospitality, sees the customer as well as the crew members. So also contracts management department has to see the contractor, the company, the executive committee, and everything, and it has to be resolved amicably. You cannot say, "Hey, this is not in the contract; it is just a khali wali." No, that is not the end. That is not the solution. You have to find a solution for that. You have to put hard work. You have to put some study. So do that something and tell me somebody.
Yes, sir, I got your point that there will be a pressure to the
Yes.
company's director and all that. So
Yes.
we have to like mediate, like find a like middle part of both the side.
Correct, correct. One part is correct. But what is that middle? It is not a agent. It is not a dalal. It is not a agency. Not in the middle part. Middle part is the solution. What are the alternative solutions that you have to find out? Start exploring the solution. Solution A. Start working on that direction. Solution B. Yes, your mind goes in this direction. Solution C. Yes, it goes in this direction. Start working on that.
Mr. Rashid,
Sir,
I'm Rupinder here.
Yes.
So, in a solution for this, one of the probability is you pay up 1 lakh,
Yes.
but in between the amount can be divided. 50,000 should be on the contractor part and 50,000 should be on the company part. So you pay me half the amount of 1 lakh. One way you can do this.
Very good question, very good answer. And I tried this very best, but contractor refused. Okay, my department also refused to entertain me. Contractor refused. As I said, you there is backing for him. There is an executive committee. There is a management, and so they want it to be. See, some people, some area want he should be compensated. But some say, as you said, half. But how that justification, we have to have proper documentation justification.
So other way,
sir, sir, Rakesh Rathore.
Yeah, yeah. Correct.
Oh, sir,
sorry to other way we can do is we can extend the contract for around 4 or 6 months
Yeah.
and distribute this over there. So we will not pay 50,000 per month. So for 4 months we will pay 25,000 per month. This way we can do it. And for 4 months we can get his services and we make him understand. Okay, we are paying you 1 lakh, but that will be distributed over 4 months. ताकि आपका भी काम चलता रहे. So this way we can do it.
Very good point. अच्छा आपका idea चला. The answer is what happens? The contract validity ends. Okay. So there is no extension. As this will become after the fact. And after the fact is not applicable after the expiry of the contract. And here it is considered April and May as a vacation period. So if you put a justification, I will pay a portion for the invoices. It is not holding justification. It does. Yes, tell me.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. There are, I think, one or two participants who want to answer. Let us hear and then
Yeah.
we can proceed to answer your
Yes,
answer.
yes. Please.
Yeah, Rakesh, short hold. You can proceed with your answer.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, the point is with the contract start and end date. The contract started on 1st of April and it ended on 31st of March. And there is a point in the contract which say they have to pay. There is something for holiday payment, but since the yearly contract is completed, like if we go for one full cycle, for the first year it was completed. So paying for the April and May, they have paid it out. When coming to the second year, that is in 2001, again they had paid for April and May.
Correct.
And so when coming to the last year, it is 2005, when this was completed, he is eligible for, I think, April month he is eligible as per if we go through, because he has rendered his service for a year, and for this balance holiday pay that should be given. Maybe that is left out somewhere in the contract or anything. So we can argue that part and release him 50% of the payment. But for the next May month, that may not be possible because the contract has ended and he has not started his services beyond 2005. Maybe that is the thing.
I think this is not holding good. You know why? What's your name, please?
Rakesh, sir.
Rakesh. Why, Rakesh? See here, it is, you said it to me right. ये बात वो हो गई कि ये अपना तुपना है अपन दोनों संभाल लेते हैं, ऐसा कर लेते हैं. This is not possible in the contract, company, management, contract department, coming executive committee and contractor. ये बड़ी चीज है. It is properly laid down agreement, contract terms. So When you try to put like 1 month, 2 months, then what happens? See, contract departments under which the business line comes, he gets upset. The business head of the contract department, above contracts management, the executive director. Why? Because a black mark comes on him and on his department. That you are saying, अरे चलो 1 month we will give, 1 month नहीं देंगे, चलो ऐसा ऐसा आटा बटा करेंगे, सट्टा सा कर दे, सुलटा देंगे, खत्म करेंगे. No, no, no. He would not like to take this onus on himself. Okay, there is another politics inside. Bolo.
Sir, we will take one more answer from Mayank and then we'll proceed with the answer.
Yeah, then I'll proceed. Yeah, tell ma'am.
Yeah, yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I am just saying that because the school was only in the contract till March 31st, 2005. So they are not legally binded to pay any sort of money because that 50,000 USD is like not that very low money. So they are not legally binded also, and they will not pay. And sir, if the contractor who has hired the teachers is also has made a contract with the teachers till that 31st March, so he is also not legally binded. But if there is no contract from his side with the teachers, then like there can be a dispute among them, and then he has to pay from his side.
Representatives, contract specialists, contract administrators, contracts managers, user department engineers, representatives, user department managers, legal department, finance and accounting department, to provide adequate and comprehensive comments and cross-check corresponding articles and clauses of the tender document before they are issued to the contractor. When the tender is initially made by the user and the procurement and tender department, it should be routed to all these departments and ratified, because they have to provide their input also. So that what happens, it is properly cross-checked, all corresponding articles, clauses appropriately to the tender documents are properly cross-checked, scope of work, payment conditions, and when tender documents are routed for finalization before issuance. This is the lessons I learned. So that it is covered. So tomorrow, same incident happens with you or you or you. You know, there are so many departments who are also responsible for tender initiation, and approving that tender articles are jointly responsible. Okay, so unitedly it can be fought and resolved, right? That sums up. So you got the answer, everybody.
Thank you, sir. It was a very informative and interesting session.
Yes.
Now, like
I want to just share with you one small question here. See, if you all must be going to LinkedIn software, LinkedIn, our what do you call it? LinkedIn media, social media. There, you may be seeing that I also write so many articles sometimes. Sometimes I answer to some questions, and this I found that this was written by one of the main claim specialists. Okay, so I just want to read his question, and the answer I put, and then I gave the answer to them, and how this answer was liked not only by him, by his company, by his own whole area, that they specially called me, they wrote a letter to me, and they cited me, because see, this is the way we learn, and this is the way we have to share and learn and do the things, correct? As a man cannot do all work by himself, so it is this contracting department, contract management, and contracting life cycle cannot be individually managed by a 1%, 2% score of person. It is a teamwork. Okay, it is a teamwork that properly, if it executed, it not only smoothly executes and satisfies the convenience of the company and the contractor collectively by accomplishing the task and that service, but also makes a saving by not going to claims or arbitration or slippages and more. Right? Now you can say something, sir. I conclude now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I am saying, like, if any of our candidates are interested to ask some other questions or doubts related to this session or
Yeah, I'm
anything
ready
in
to
contracts?
answer. I love that. I'm ready to answer that. Please go ahead. And I'm ready to do that. Okay. Okay. I want, before going that, I would like to tell you that, see, through my experience, I made this book called Contract Management Life Cycle. Now, I have also made different modules like when I said authorization for contract, procurement and tendering, contract administration, project management. I have made different modules and I made books on that with case studies. Okay, that is also available on Amazon and Flipkart. Anybody can go and download and buy from there. But I want to tell you one more important aspect that we, as a 3C, I have a team of boys and girls with me who are also internationally experienced, and we operate from Bombay and Dubai, and we offer online and on-site training courses. Okay, and we do on all the contract management areas, that contract management area, tendering and project management, contract negotiation, scope of work writing. But also, we are of FIDIC certified, we offer FIDIC contract management, FIDIC laws, and all the high-end courses. So these also we do. So that also you can look at our website and you can look at our things and do. Now can shoot your questions. I'm ready to answer.
Yes, I would like to request the audience to address if any queries are there from your side.
Sir, I would like to ask one question. Like, there are many kinds of like causes of disputes, now between the client and the contractor. So, what is the one of the major cause? Like, there are many causes like change order or delay in bill payments or suspension of work. So there are different causes, sir. What do you think from your experience? Like, which one is the major?
Excellent question. Excellent question. What's your name?
Sir, Mayank.
Mayank, see, as I was going through my life cycle, talking with you all guys, the biggest, the foremost, the smallest, and the most irritating aspect for the claims is documentation. That's the first aspect. If the documentation is missing, it results in claim. If the documentation is not received, not originated, not created, it's a claim. So, like for as you said, suspension on work site. Suppose the work was going on and he has to do 2 kilometer digging and he did only 1.5 kilometer, and then you suspended his work because 30 days passed. He has to do it in 28 days. That is secondary. That can be overlooked, that can be overcome. We can put extra effort, extra manpower, extra days, and we can do that. But when document is missing, how to compensate, how to overlook our claims. Okay, now I will tell you. Document means I'll give you an example. The engineer said, as I said, he said, please do 200 meter more digging for the road. It was originally planned for 2 kilometers, and the contractors did it. But the document did not come. See, how can you invoice for those extra 200 meters until there's a contract variation is there, contract addendum is there, contract variation with payment is there, some document to claim for that. You cannot do that. You cannot say, oh, that engineer Mayank said me, so I did it that. It's a contract between company and contractor. So, document is the core thing. And India, as I said, document management service providers are here who are providing these services. So, I find many companies, big companies, they are tied up on a contractual basis with these companies, and these people are in daily touch with the client side, the customer side, and they have their own software installed, documented in their offices, and they monitor all sequentially, version wise, this wise, so that it is handy and ready for use for any appropriate reason anytime. Okay, Mayank, are you happy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it. Like ambiguous documents or missing documents are one of the main causes, like
That is the
major
first and
causes.
foremost. That is the first and foremost. See, बाद में slippages होता है, वो verbal instruction देते हैं, ये देता है. That all results later on. जब तुम्हारे पास डॉक्यूमेंट ही नहीं है, अभी तुमने बोला ना ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था अपना टीचर्स का, it ended on 31st April 2005, और वो डॉक्यूमेंट है क्या अप्रैल और मई का? नहीं है. तो फाइनेंस ने नहीं दिया, तो फाइनेंस इज वेरी राइट ना 100%। हाँ, हम लोग बोलता नहीं देना चाहिए, ह्यूमैनिटेरियन ग्राउंड में देना चाहिए, 5 साल से दे रहे थे अभी भी देना चाहिए। ये सब ह्यूमैनिटी और सब ऐसा प्यार का भाषा नहीं चलता, इट्स अ कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग टर्म चलता है, करेक्ट। सो वी हैव टू हैव प्रॉपर डॉक्यूमेंट इन प्लेस। फिर बाद में आता है कि जैसे तुमने बोला ना, वो बोलता डिले डेडलाइन खत्म हो गया, व्हाट हैपेंस, एग्जांपल the contract ends on 31st December 2020, the contractor has not completed 70% of the work for the whole project, okay, तो क्या होता है, the contractor starts work on the January 1 2021, but there is no document, okay, and the company also puts a delay in completing the work का clause डालता है जिसमें percentage होता है उसको। So all these things happen because document is not there. The company did not plan adequately in advance to give him extension with the reasons, with payment. The contractor's mistake is that he did not follow up with the company, with the company contract department, with the user department. Okay, so all these factors are affecting, right? So this has to be properly documented. That's why documentum management services in India are very in predominant. Okay, so these people, सब जब claim होता है, तो these people go with all the document, they give it to the lawyers, to the legals, to their interpreters, and then that is sure. Then what do you call it? Put forward in front of the arbitrator, like that. Yeah.
Sir,
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
sir, actually, like some big companies, na, like they want their contracts to be claimed, or like because na, like when a small company and a big company signs a contract, and a small company, because nobody looks out the interest for everyone, na, like they have to hire, and when a small company makes a contract with a big company, they knows how to like get their way around the contract, and they want the contract to be claimed. So such bad practices, sir, are happening in the companies. So like, what can you suggest, sir?
Okay, see, ऐसा है, आज आप जहाँ काम करते हैं, where you are staying, you are in contact with your colleagues, with your friends, your relatives. उसमें good people है, bad people है. How can you distinguish them? You know कि ये bad relative है, ये bad friend है, but you cannot isolate him, you cannot be isolated by them. They are a part of our system. They are a part of our daily livelihood, daily work. You have to live with it. That's why I said, हमने जब बात की थी लाइफ साइकिल में ई कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग एंड स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन ऑफ टर्म्स, जहां तक अप्रोप्रिएट हो सके, इफ यू ट्राई टू पुट इन इंक्लूड ऑल द स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन टर्म्स फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर एरिया, आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ दिस थिंग्स विल बी एलिमिनेटेड। यू गॉट मी?
Yes, sir.
हमारे यहाँ पे ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लाइन, कोई तो सॉफ्टवेयर कंपनी आज सुने, टीसीएस, इन्फोसिस, या कोई भी स्मॉल टाइम मैडम शशि सॉफ्टवेयर कंपनी सुने और एक सॉफ्टवेयर बनाए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लाइन मैनेजमेंट का और हमें दे, हमारे कंपनीज को, यहाँ बहुत जरूरत है, समझे ना? देर आर अवेलेबल आउटसाइड द कंट्री, वहां से भी मंगा सकते हैं, उनसे भी कर सकते हैं, राइट? सो दीज आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, क्रूशियल फॉर अवर इंडस्ट्री, फॉर अवर दिस थिंग। इसमें मैंने कहा ना, जो 100 करोड़ का प्रोजेक्ट होता है, 100 करोड़ हमें क्लेम्स के लिए रखना पड़ता है। नेक्स्ट
Sir, as you told, the T contracting is very important. So, what are the barriers in for the implementation in India, sir, and how it can reshape the construction industry, sir, in India particularly?
वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन। इंडिया में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिपार्टमेंट पहले से है, वर्ल्ड में पहले से है, बट इन इंडिया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डिपार्टमेंट कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग टर्म्स को इंपॉर्टेंस इतना दिया नहीं जाता है, समझे? यहाँ पे सी नाउ आई फाइंड ड्यूरिंग लॉकडाउन हो गया, लॉकडाउन से मैं व्हेन आई वाज इन लिंक्ड एक्टिव and when I started actively with my teaching, and my teammates started teaching people in India and abroad, we found that people started knowing the contracting, the contract department and contractor life cycle and all those things. हमारे यहाँ क्या पता है contract means क्या है? It's a contract between one company and the party and the contractor, वो sign होता है, that's a contract for that particular objective and something. But वो नहीं है, contracting department or contract management is a vast core area. It's the heart of our any project execution, project accomplishment. which we have to take very seriously. All the stakeholders, right from the top, like the executive stakeholders of a company, down to the small clerk, document controller clerk, it has to be taken very seriously. Then only you can flourish, then only you can monitor, then only you can execute, then only you can get a result, positive and perfect result out of it. Today, you will be sorry to know, Mayank, Rakesh, madam, that this contract management is ऐसा धब्बा लगा है इंडिया में and ऐसा इसके ऊपर उंगलियां उठाई जाती है. You find any contract, go to your highway contract, go to CPWD contract, Ministry of Industry contract, हर एक जगह क्लेम्स होता है. क्यों? वो बोलते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऐसा लिखा गया, उसमें ये टर्म्स नहीं था, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैसा था, वो स्लिपेज हुआ था, हम क्या करें, वो एक्सटेंशन नहीं किया तो मैं क्या. तो ऑल दिस थिंग कौन ब्लेम करता है? कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स को करता है. जहां पे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज द कोर एंड हार्ट, उसको हम लोग ध्यान ही नहीं देते, इतना इजीली करते हैं, इजी लेते हैं. और वहाँ एग्जीक्यूशन पे जाते हैं, वहाँ नीचे होता है स्लीपेज, एस्केलेट होता है, कभी कभी हम लोग डिस्कॉप कर देते हैं, क्या क्या होता है. बट ये सब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैनेजमेंट में मॉनिटर होना चाहिए, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैनेजमेंट के थ्रू चलना चाहिए, कोई नहीं करता है. तो ऑल दिस थिंग इज सो अनटिल एंड अनलेस अपने यहाँ स्टेक होल्डर्स, हु आर द स्टेक होल्डर्स, आई एम टेलिंग यू, फॉर एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, whether it is a college, company, manufacturing company, government, semi-government, private conglomerate, the decision makers who are in the board, they are the stakeholders for this implementation. They are the one who should take seriously for this contracts management. They are the one who have to form a steering committee. They are the one who should form a standardization of terms through the steering committee. They are the one who should make e-contracting compulsory. Then only it is possible. Okay, if a company like 3C mine, if he makes compulsory CLM, contract life management with standard terms, okay, then it will go to the down the line, and you will find a lot of savings, lot of easy way of working, lot of fruits being achieved by both the parties. Okay, and the saving will be enormous. You follow? So now I'm happy today, after this lockdown and nearly a year, that NIT Warangal, under the patronage of Sashi ma'am, Sumit, and my and other guys, they came up with this idea to give a little talk on the contracts management. And I was very happy to first instant oblige and very happy to stand up and say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Why? Because I want this to be shared by whatever I gain through you all guys, to all the companies around, all the Indians around. And I want this to prosper. I want this to be followed. And I want this to be implemented. जब नया नया जीएसटी आया था, सब लोग कैसे करते थे, हेट करते थे, कितनी बातें होती थी, कितना क्या होता था. But now it is in place. Everything is going smooth. जहाँ 9% है, 6% है, 18% है, smoothly the GSTs are being paid, and automatically systems are working, and government exchequer is making 110 lakhs crores of rupees per month as a payable received under GST from the companies. So ये सब possible है. If there is a will, there is a way. Correct, ma'am, everybody?
Yes, sir. Sir, due to the limited time,
Yes.
I think this was the last question. Now I would like to thank you very much, on the behalf of whole students committee and our class and from whole department. And I would like to say that this was a very helpful session for us for understanding the significant role of contracts and contracts framing in the smooth execution of the project. And I would like to hand over the session to Shashi ma'am for giving a vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you. Before Shashi ma'am speak, I want to thank you. You are Sumit, right? Or Mayank?
Sir, Mayank.
Mayank. Thank you, Mayank, for saying such a nice word. I want to just add one more line to your saying, is that anytime, anywhere, anytime, NIT Warangal under the patronage of Shashi ma'am, Mayank, Sumit and the team need me for any other discourse, talk online, on any of the life cycle, as I said, right from the beginning, engineering management, up to the close out, exclusively for a single life cycle, I'm always available. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, sir. That was a very lovely session and informative session you have given us. And it was very interesting. And query session, I observed that participants have taken really interest in and were enthusiastic in answering your questions. And prize winners, I am happy to congratulate them who have won the two candidates have won three prizes of your book.
You can
And
email me them, ma'am.
yes, definitely, sir. I'll email their details to you, and I'll definitely they will be happy to receive these as a gift and token of appreciation. And
Thank you.
I'm really glad that we have to have you in NIT Warangal. It was a great pleasure having you here, and we do hope this is the one of the first collaborations, and in future we will have more collaborations like this where we will have more participants and the wide area we will target in future collaborations as well as guest lectures. So with this I would like to thank uh, I would like to thank people, or I would like to thank our director, Professor N.V. Ramana Rao sir, and head of the department, Professor P. Ratish Kumar sir, because of their approvals, we were able to conduct this whole webinar. And I would like to thank our specialization head also, Professor T.D. Guneshwar Rao sir, and computer science department from there, Dr. Suresh Babu sir. Because of him, we got technical support and data center. Because of them, we got technical support to live stream it on YouTube, and as well as our institute. Without them, we are nothing. So I would like to thank all of them, and again, all the participants, patient participants, and enthusiastic participants who have taken interest in this particular topic of contracts management. And special thanks to Mr. Rashid Hussain sir. And it was a great pleasure having you with us. And our students are very much interested. Our MTech students are very much interested in this particular topic. And I do hope they contact you regarding this and will look for opportunities, career opportunities in this direction as well, because it is a very promising area as well as you have delivered in this particular lecture. So, with this, taking due permission from our guest as well as our participant, I would like to officially uh, conclude this session. Is it fine? It was lovely and pleasure having you here, sir.
Thank
So,
you.
we'll meet again, definitely. And I will conclude here officially. Sir, would you like to say something?
Yeah, what I would like to say is that anybody, any faculty, sir, principal, and students, colleagues from NIT, I always welcome day in and day out to write to me for any queries on courses, on experiences, projects. Okay, because I forgot to mention you one more thing. I am also a consultant project management for another big company in India, Orbit India Engineering, where I am responsible for all their design, engineering, project management, procurement, and construction activity in India and abroad. So that also I do simultaneously, and I share my experiences there. So I can share with you any technicality, administrative questions, training part, anything. Always feel free to write me on LinkedIn or my email ID, and I'll be very responsive. Feel free to call me, WhatsApp me anytime. And ma'am, you personally, I want to thank you very much for this initiative you took and enlightening this contracts management the world over. Thanks a lot, ma'am. May God bless you.
Yes, thank you, sir. And feedback link, the feedback link will be mailed to you.
Yes,
As Mukesh Gupta has raised this query, feedback link
yes,
will be mailed to you. Do feel free to mail us back. And
yes.
regarding our guest speaker, you can find him in LinkedIn and various social platforms, as well as you can contact our organizing team through which you have got mails, and they will let you know. They will guide you through the social platforms, and you can directly connect to our guest speaker as well. He's very kind and humble as well as very social. He will definitely reply you within an hour or two or within a day also if he is having busy schedule. So
Thank
that
you.
is all. Thank you all the participants and students, and thank you Mr. Rashid Hussain. Shall we conclude here officially?
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Sir, you can cut the call. you have to click on red